You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. You are blessed beings indeed. And this is what we want to bring to your minds today. Your survival mechanisms, your egoic mind, is focused on fear, threat, separation, death, sickness. These are not things that are necessarily conscious in you. But there is an underlying frequency that is generated by the survival mechanisms of the ego. When a person passes over from this incarnation, they feel as if they have shed the weight of the world. They feel as if they have kicked off a pair of shoes that are 3 sizes too small for them. You can imagine walking miles and miles and miles in a pair of shoes that is not 1 size too small, but is 3 sizes too small. You're limping along, it's rubbing, it's hurting, you're tender, you're not going very quickly. Now you think of the relief that comes from taking those shoes off. And that is what happens to all of you when you pass from this realm of separation and fear. So there's an underlying frequency that many of you are experiencing, but you may not be aware of it consciously. You may say, oh no, my life is great. I'm at the beach swimming, or I'm in my garden planting. But there's an underlying survival mechanism there. And it may be that it shows up in the occasional thought that is aggressive or attacking. And that may be about yourself. It could be that you judge yourself for not producing enough today, or you judge yourself for not having a high enough income, or you judge a brother or a sister for the way they looked at you. Tiny things that you think of as small. But in actual fact, many of you are functioning with a low-grade fever of despair. Many of you, as we say this, will go, that is not me. I'm perfectly happy all the time. I have a great life. But we will tell you, if you passed over at this time and you moved on to the next layer of consciousness, you would be astonished at the weight that would be gone. Not only the physical weight of this heavy manifested body that you have, but the weight of those unconscious aspects of your mind. Now, as you are going through this coming year, it's going to be a volatile year. We want to tell you that here and now. The elections that are happening in a couple of places are what you would call very, very important elections, in that there is a lot of emotion invested in who's going to win, what the implications are of each respective potential winner. And so what you have is an anticipation of either good or bad, but intense no matter what. If you have 50% of a population wanting one candidate to win, 50% wanting another candidate to win, you can see the dilemma. No matter what happens, 50% of people are going to be very, very upset. So when you see this upset and distress, we do not want you to join in. If you see riots on the streets, or if you see governments being overthrown, or if you see any kind of drastic economic reaction, all of these are potentials this year. We want you to rise above the battleground, and we want you to understand this, that the transformation that this planet is going through is a powerfully positive one. The things you see on your news streams are very, very selectively chosen to bring you down. And we want to give you a heads up here, because that is what's going to happen this year. You have already seen it with the war in the Middle East. You have seen how tempers are rising and passions are rising and confrontations are happening, and the unconscious is being brought to the surface, whether it's the hatred of this group or the hatred of that group. This is what you are seeing. You are seeing the unconscious being triggered to the surface by social media and news manipulation. Imagine social media and news disappeared from your society for 24 hours, what would the vibration of all those angry people, all those heartbroken people, all of those grief-stricken people? We're not talking about the people who are in the war zones. We are talking about your neighbors. We are talking about your kids at school. What would the frequency be? It would be the frequency of the reality around them, the reality around you, which is, it's a sunny day, it's a rainy day, my garden needs weeding, my neighbor has brought over some fresh tomatoes from their garden, I want to go for a walk, oh, look at the beautiful blossoms on the trees. It would be your own environment that you would be experiencing and feeling. And that is what we want you to focus on this year. Anytime you get a piece of news, and remember, if it's news, it has an agenda. It has an agenda either to upset you or to frighten you or to cause some kind of reaction in you. It does not travel the airwaves. It does not travel the internet if it doesn't have an agenda. We have an agenda. This ministry has an agenda because we have history with all of you. You understand what the agenda is. The agenda is to clarify your mind, to bring you peace, to help you understand how your creative influence and power works. We bring you information that will assist you, that will help raise your frequency. And you understand this because you have a relationship with these beings and with us. When you go to other systems of communication, you actually don't know what their agenda is, whether it's a right-wing political newscast or a health show that's telling you this food is good for you or that food is good for you. And we know that you can go on your internet and you can find a station that is broadcasting that only eating raspberries is good for you. And you can go to another station that says only eating T-bone steaks is good for you. And they will have their own belief system manifesting. They will, in fact, even have their own experience, which is true for them, because they are creators, because they believe in it, and they will have all the evidence that they need to bring it to you with absolute belief that their way is the best. And this goes across the board with all subjects. So with this in mind, we want you to focus on your surroundings. We want you to focus on how you're feeling. And we want you to understand that if you look at a newscast and it makes you feel bad, that you, as Course in Miracles students, understand that you feel bad. That means that what you just looked at is off track. It's not in alignment with love. So we want to get back to basics because that is what is going to carry you through the multitudinous battles that are going to be taking place on your screens over the coming months. If you believe everything that comes through your screen, you will be all over the map. If you look at political activity or you look at a financial situation and it scares you, that means you've gone into survival mode, and that means that you are in the ego, and that means that you will make short-term decisions that are based on physical survival. We want to remind you that you are eternal spiritual beings. Now, you do live in bodies, you do experience physical threat at times, but we want you to remember that the more consistently you are at peace, the more consistently you will be able to rise above the battleground and get the information that is appropriate and accurate for you in your spiritual growth, in your incarnation, in the location and the way of life that you live. When you're in the battleground, you are going to have shells coming from this side, bullets coming from this side. And we mean that figuratively, of course, because you aren't necessarily in a war zone. But you are going to be ducking and weaving, not knowing what piece of information to believe, not knowing who's right, who's good, We want you to remember, get above the battleground and find your peace through the practices that you have developed, and trust in life. When you are at peace, we can guarantee that you are going to get the information and the guidance that you need, because you are in the frequency of love. You're in the frequency of love. You're not buying into propaganda. And there will be a lot of propaganda flying through the airwaves this year. And we want you to remember the kind of experience that happened 4 years ago with the propaganda that happened with your COVID experience. Do not forget it, but understand that the form will change. The form will change, but the agenda will be the same, to get you focused on death, to get you focused on fear, to get you focused on your small physical self. We are here to get you to focus on your eternal spiritual nature. And what that means is you have faith in your practice. You practice your practice. And you know that your feeling good is not a sign of selfishness. It is not a sign of narcissism. It is a sign that you are on the right track and you're holding the right frequency. So we remind you again to strengthen through practice the things that you love. Our dear one mentioned the kiln that she is getting. She is very, very excited about the creative prospects. This is a big part of our dear one's blueprint, creativity. And so when she starts to align with creativity in the form, whatever she chooses, she begins to get a flood of good feelings that are contentment, excitement, happiness. And through the experience of channeling through this idea of consistently choosing what you enjoy doing, consistently eliminating from your life that which you do not enjoy, that which is no longer appropriate for you, you will turn towards love. And as you turn towards love, and we're not speaking here of love of humans, we're talking here about the frequency of creativity, which is your natural inheritance as a divine aspect of God mind. You are naturally creative. And so as you align with what you love, whatever that is, we repeat, it does not have to be art. It does not have to be creativity in the traditional sense. It could be gardening. It could be looking after children. It could be polishing your car collection. Whatever you love, it doesn't matter. You love it because it's in your blueprint, and therefore it is for you. And don't judge it. Our dear one goes through this sometimes, and we want to share this, even though she's a very, very experienced creator, that voice that says, why do you need to glaze 27 pots? Who's going to use them? What is the point? The point is the creative frequency. That's the point. The point is the process. It is not the end result. And that internalized capitalism that you have been indoctrinated into through your school and university systems is, if I don't make money at it, it's not worth it. And we counter that and say it is worth it, because the high frequency that you hold when you're in a state of joy is going to attract to you more and more beautiful experiences. And after all, when you think about having a lot of money, what do you think you're going to buy? Beautiful experiences, a fancy car, a holiday away, new clothes, whatever it is that you want to do with money, you can do with frequency. Your frequency will, in fact, bring to you the abundance that is your natural inheritance. So we're asking you to not buy into the propaganda, not buy into the fear-mongering, not buy into the partisanship. When you see it, say, oh, there it is. They want me to choose this side. They want me to choose that side. They want me to see war. They want me to envision war. I am going to do the opposite. I'm going to turn that off, and I am going to go to my course and envision peace. I am going to do the opposite of what the media is asking me to do. If it's a dietary issue, for example, we mentioned the fruitarian as opposed to the carnivore, you know what feels good when you eat it. You understand your body, your body's reaction. Each one of you is going to have a different system of consumption. Some of you are going to eat very little. Some of you are going to eat a lot. Some of you are going to eat healthily. Some of you are going to eat less healthily. We want you to regard the physical results of what you're doing. Do you have a lot of energy? Are you optimistic and happy? Is your body aching or hurting or too big to move around? Look at the physical results of what you're doing and be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Look at your habits, whether they be movement habits, food habits, drinking habits. Look at your habits and be honest with yourself and act accordingly. And as we have said many times, go back a couple of 100 years. What would people have been eating? They would have been eating organic meats, locally raised fruits and vegetables, and everything would be fresh and close to home. So do your very best to choose the things you enjoy from within those parameters, and do your very best to grow something, anything. Our dear one planted 6 watermelon plants today. That has come from us. We have guided her to produce some hothouse foods this summer. We inspired her to get the greenhouse. She didn't get a little greenhouse, she got a big greenhouse. And so she is producing a lot of hothouse foods, and she feels good about it because it's in alignment with higher frequencies. She feels empowered. It's exciting. Every day she goes and talks to her plants and waters them to see how they are. These are the little ideas we are giving you to get you through this coming season of intense separation messages, the coming season of the rattling sabers of war. We want you to be above the battleground as often as you can. And how do you know you're in the battleground? You're not going to feel very good. You're going to feel scared. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel panicky. That means you're off track. Look at what you're doing. Shift, pivot, change. Pick up your Course in Miracles. If you cannot think of anything else to do, pick up your Course in Miracles and ask me to help you. And I will help you. That is our message. Wow.